Donald Trump, it's been a long time since we saw you. Yeah, I've been kind of ignoring this guy since his election. But one thing that you can't ignore is the reality that on January 20th, this guy takes over. And he takes over in a way that is going to be unprecedented. He honestly did not do much except sit and watch TV throughout his first presidency. He was not. There were people, there were adults in the room. There were people, not good people, but people that had an interest in the continued existence and welfare of the United States of America and the people that live there. They had a base level of concern for that sort of thing, and they didn't let him touch any third rails. So he has systematically gone through and eliminated anyone who might tell him no. Tell him don't do the thing, don't do the spicy thing, don't annex Mexico, don't annex Canada, don't start a trade war, don't start a world war. There's nobody left. There's nobody left. The inmates have taken over the asylum, and that is what this administration will bring. So yeah, with that stated, let's take a look at his interview on Meet the Press. This is where he first introduces the idea of giving the United States a little elbow room. A little, I don't know, is there like a German word for this? Little living space, so to speak, by maybe just making it a little bit bigger. You know, we got countries to the north and the south. What if those were just states? What if those were just states? Let's find out.
Welcome back to Meet the Press.
Welcome back, Mr. President-elect. Aren't you so glad to be? We're so happy to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. That's gonna fucking tear the world apart.
For being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have,
Wait, I thought it was Garfield. Is it not? Is it Grover Cleveland?
control of the House
Oh yeah, it would be, right?
and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish?
You're gonna have control of the House and the Senate. Aren't you excited? You're a big boy, Donald. That's gonna be super fun for you to play with those toys. You almost went to prison. You almost had to, for the first time in your life, be held responsible for a criminal action that you fucking did, and you got out of it, Donald. You beat the system, right? You're above the law now. What are you gonna do?
in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll
We do the weave.
first signal, and a first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people.
I believe it's a record. Isn't it a record low border crossings?
Shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions.
We have Hannibal Lecter. Please just tell me about Hannibal Lecter, right? You talked about Hannibal Lecter the whole campaign. Do not leave the man behind now that you've been reelected as president. Do not leave him in the dust. Like Trump, Hannibal Lecter made you. You owe to Hannibal Lecter. He's one of your oldest supporters, and he's one of your strongest supporters. And if you're going to name somebody as the chef to the White House, why not him? Why not a man whose culinary tastes are impeccable?
From all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts. Because, you know,
I feel like he's hiding. He's bearing the lead here. All right. The first thing they're going to do, the thing that they've already started to do, is they're going to take the song YMCA and make it heterosexual. YMCA is now a heterosexual anthem. It's a heterosexual banger, so to speak. It's about heterosexual lifestyle at the YMCA. It's about young men. And what does our society need to do more than reach out and care about young men and their epidemic of loneliness? They can overcome that loneliness at the YMCA through strictly heterosexual means. I assure you, there is nothing non-heteronormative going on down at the YMCA. It is all on the up and up, as they say.
They're coming due, and they're very substantial for people. And it would be very, I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever.
The tax cuts. Yeah, we got to make sure that the millionaires' tax cuts get extended, because they will piss down money on you as long as they get enough, as long as their sacrifice is met, as long as we're able to cut enough social programs that you were counting on for your retirement, for your healthcare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? In order to satisfy them, then they'll make it rain. They'll piss down your back.
And those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat-controlled cities and states. And we're going to be working with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. And I look forward to doing it, but we have to do something about crime, and mostly...
Joe, that's an excellent question. Right now, I've already sort of spoiled it for you by telling you that one of the things he says in this interview is that he floats the idea of Mexico and Canada as the 45th, yes, I know how many states there are, 51st and 52nd states, respectively. So if that's true, then why does he need to deport? Like, why would he need to deport people from Mexico?
And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned.
He's our essayer. He may be an essayer, but he's our essayer.
Young guy with...
he's a young guy with a lot of spunk. Oh, no.
A tremendous track record, actually. Went to
Oh, yeah, he's definitely got a track record.
Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both. But
He left a trail of abuse behind him.
the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
We are going to delve into your nominations, but since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him.
The thing that the Republicans do is that for every flawed candidate, for every flawed nominee that they give in on, that's just like a complete shit show. For every Matt Gaetz there is, they've got to do like a Kavanaugh. They got to do somebody that should be jettisoned, that should be dropped, and just like hold on to him with diamond hands and refuse to, and just, you know, shove your fingers in your ears and deny. Right? That's they've got to do it almost like as a matter of principle. It's almost like they see it as a way of showing their strength and toughness. That they're it's not even about, you know, like they could get somebody else besides Hegseth that would be just as bad as Hegseth and doesn't have his track record, so to speak, right? They could easily get somebody like that, but they don't want to because it looks weak.
Through Fox, but I've known him for a long time.
It's like the way that it's almost a sign of dominance over the American people that they can gaslight you into a Kavanaugh, into a Hegseth, into a Clarence Thomas, we might say.
And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him...
Yeah, so I mean, when I mentioned Clarence Thomas, we realized that this is not a new thing for the Republicans. They've absolutely done this as far back as H.W. Bush.
Wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think he would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So
war crimes, of course, yes.
Yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job.
Yeah.
Does that work?
If he gets the job.
You?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating, and we all.
You could stop eating. You could, and then after a certain number of days, you would shed your mortal coil. You could stop drinking. You could stop breathing. Yes, but these things would all result in your eventual death. That's true. This is as opposed to stopping drinking, which is, I don't want to minimize how difficult it can be. If somebody's dealing with addiction, but would ostensibly, if done successfully, result in good health effects as opposed to negative ones like dying. I don't know, Donald. It kind of sounds like the exact opposite. What are you talking about? What is bro talking about? Okay, so now, chat, I gotta put up my concern first and foremost, okay? This guy is not okay. He has not been okay for a long time. Okay people do not talk about fucking Hannibal Lecter. Okay people do not lose themselves in the weave, right? He is on his way out, mentally, if not physically as well. And that means that probably sooner than later, we will be facing the prospect of a President J.D. Vance, which really means, by the transitive property of the fact that this guy is a puppet, that we'll have President Peter Thiel. And it could not get much worse than that. You think the Polymarket studio is bad? Wait until we have the United States of America brought to you by Polymarket.
Stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, it's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. But
what?
He's very respected. Oh. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him.
So as we found out from David Frum, maybe his lifestyle of day drinking is not... is maybe the norm rather than the exception at Fox News. But we can't say that. That's why we had to kick... oh, God, Chad, I haven't shown you that yet. Should I show you that?
Really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific. And again, all he talked about with me, I said, you're not really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know. You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him...
He's all about it.
So he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. He didn't say, well, let me think about it. Let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into your cabinet picks a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes.
Yeah, 45% of trade. We're talking about Canada, Mexico, and China. That accounts for 45%. But before we get to that, let's take a look. I think this might...
I don't know how I missed this yesterday. I did a video about the Morning Joe show yesterday, about them having ejected David Frum from the show and him subsequently writing an op-ed or an article in The Atlantic about fear, about capitulation, about fear being contagious, but courage also being infectious, I think is how he put it. And what I missed was yesterday, likely while I was recording that video, Morning Joe went on a freak-out rant, screaming at his audience, screaming might be a little harsh, but attacking the audience with a raised voice, belittling them for not knowing enough about the media.
Crap, chat. Like, this is, So he's not going over...
Extraordinary developments in media.
He's not going over... the David Frum thing. I'm trying to remember, did Breaking Points do this? I think this is
At
it.
the same time, there have been some extraordinary developments in media. Donald Trump's election prompting some to think they should just quit. One of them is HBO's Bill Maher. You can
And we don't care about him. Like, yeah, he was talking to Jane Fonda and he said he might quit. He said, what's the point? I've been through this Trump thing once before. All right, so we're going to skip that if that's okay.
everybody. I called him a con man before that. Bro, they've been calling Donald Trump a con man since 1978. Like, none of that
they've been
is
right the
original.
whole time.
What he called him, Cheeto Jesus, Orange Man. This is not a center-left figure who's like constantly calibrating where he can be contrarian, but also of Amy Klobuchar.
Talking about Maher.
Religious when I was a kid. He did a lot.
Yeah, enough Maher.
Which is like, these woke young people, blah, blah, blah. And
Or,
it's like,
like,
okay,
yeah.
all right, you know, of regulars. So David Frum apparently went on the show.
Here we go. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about. All right, so this is Morning Joe. I'm assuming that most people in my audience do not watch Morning Joe. It is the morning show. I think they are there for 4 hours. It's like a 4-hour hangout of. It's so weird. It's so bizarre.
But now there are freaking communists invading.
The underlying dynamic seems kind of like a frat house, but imagine if the frat house was presided over by like the president of the fraternity and his wife, right? It's like a frat house with a mom and a dad. I don't know. It's so weird. It's so hard to explain. But yeah, no, it's like, you know, Joe Scarborough and Mike Barnacle and just like all their super establishment figures from the right and the left. They're very centrist, right? Joe Scarborough was a Republican, but very much hates Trump. Mika Brzezinski is the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, a huge figure in foreign policy going back to like the Carter administration at least. And so, you know, she's sort of, I don't know, political royalty, so to speak. You know, she comes from a dynasty. Let's just put it that way. So they're very, very establishment figures. Now, during this election, despite having helped to build Trump up to the stature that got him elected in the first place, despite, covering his campaign a lot, they've gone very anti-Trump, and to the point where they were talking about the revelations from Trump's generals that he had spoken well of fascists and fascism in confidence to them, and they came out with a warning. So Joe and Mika, rightly blow the whistle. And then when Trump wins, it gets a little uncomfortable. And they realize that they can't leave that bridge burned. So they go to Mar-a-Lago for a meeting with the Trumpster himself. Anyway, this is David Frum that they had on that week. So I mean, that's the background. It's a couple of establishment libs that, were very much pro-Kamala, very much anti-Trump, and that are now trying to kind of pretend that that never happened. So here's David Frum coming on to talk about Trump's nominees, including Pete Hegseth.
And made some spicy comments about Fox News. We can put this tear sheet up on the screen of him explaining how all of this went down. The headline here is "The Sound of Fear on Air." It's an ominous sign that Morning Joe felt it had to apologize for something I said. So in any case, they were talking about Pete Hegseth.
The one thing I can't find in terms of video for you, though, is the actual segment itself. And I wonder if MSNBC might have scrubbed this from the internet. Again, David Frum was on their show, and he makes a comment on Fox News and on Hegseth about the atmosphere, really, the environment, let's just say, at Fox News.
And all of the allegations against him. Some of the latest allegations are, per some folks at Fox say that they were concerned about his drinking, that he would show up and they could smell alcohol on him, et cetera, et cetera. So he says, and I quote, "Let's take all the drinking, all the sex pesting, subtract any knowledge of defense, subtract any leadership, and there is your next Secretary of Defense for the 21st century. If you're too drunk for Fox News, you're very, very drunk indeed." So, this is all kind of par for the course for what Morning Joe used to be,
right,
and the tenor of the dialogue that you would expect. And apparently David Frum had already been warned in his ear about his tone or being a little bit too edgy,
Really?
et cetera. And then he goes on, he says this, and then Mika feels the need to come on air after they've dismissed David Frum, who's now apparently
So they kick him off the show.
too edgy for the show, and says,
David Frum is even more boring than Morning Joe. David Frum is like an establishment neocon. He's kind of like I mean, vaguely on the other side from Morning Joe, but because they're both anti-Trump, and they both have been or are Republicans, they're very close together. There's not a lot of daylight between a David Frum, and honestly, there's not a lot of difference between neocons and neo-libs. So, I mean, that's what you've got there. And from making a comment, not just about Pete Hegseth, who is, slotted to be the Secretary of Defense under Trump, but also from about Fox News, right? Now you wonder why Fox News. Fox News is their competitor. Why would Morning Joe be concerned about their relationship with Fox News?
A little bit earlier in this block, there was a comment made about Fox News in our coverage about Pete Hegseth and the growing number of allegations about his behavior over the years. The comment was a little too flippant for this moment that we're in. We just want to make that comment as well. We want to make that clear. We have differences in coverage with Fox News, and that's a good debate that we should have often. But right now, I just want to say there's a lot of good people who work at Fox News who care about Pete Hegseth, and we will want to leave it at that. So obviously,
So the guy that's done SA to who knows how many women, he's the victim here, right? How could you do that to poor Pete Hegseth? How could you make his day drinking a hurdle to him becoming
It was so peaceful up
Secretary of Defense?
communist invading radicals.
How dare you? How dare you? This is Trump's guy.
Up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
David Frum, you communist invading radical. What do you think you're doing?
obviously, Sagar, this comes on the heels of them making their sojourn down to Mar-a-Lago and having literally on that day, in the next hour, they lost, 40% of their audience in a time when, over the course of a morning show, your audience is supposed to build and build and build. Instead of building, 40% dropped off. MSNBC overall has lost something like half their audience. They are already, have already announced they're spinning off MSNBC along with a bundle of other cable news channels. NBC is staying at Comcast, so they're not going to have, the journalism of NBC. They said this is going to be like a well-funded startup, not music to the ears of people who are making, each of them, I think, make $10 million a year. Each of them.
Must be nice.
Each of them.
Good gig.
And they're watching. I mean, they're really in kind of a tail.
Yeah, and it's a real question, like a network like MSNBC, like how long can they sustain those kinds of salaries?
Spin here, which I think comes out
These are very much dinosaurs of legacy media.
in their reaction, which happened just this morning. Thank you to our producers for getting this clip cut so that we could react to it, where they're now responding to David Frum and, the fact that he's calling them out for basically being, I guess, terrified or capitulating or whatever it is that they're doing. Let's take a listen to how Joe and Mika responded.
And again, chat, sorry that I have to give you this through breaking points. From what I can tell, MSNBC has scrubbed the clip of David Frum describing Fox News as a environment in which drunkenness is accepted and commonplace, right? That Pete Hegseth was an outlier even from that permissive culture, meaning that his problem with drinking is severe even by Fox News standards, right? That's what got him kicked off. And here they come to. I think this is after having kicked him off when they're noticing their ratings dropping. This is their reaction.
This got turned into a column and a headline that said that, well, let's see, what was the headline? The sound of fear. No, that wasn't the sound of fear. That was the sound.
It's a smell of fear.
And saying that Mika had apologized. Mika didn't apologize.
No, I didn't.
She simply said, it was too flippant. Now, I would recommend that if we're at a stage where a comment like this causes a meltdown, and I saw George Conway, another guy we have on the show, and
We love
George, saying, read this article. It's going to make you very sad, but you must read it all. Oh, because of the fearful times we're in. Well, there's some problem with the times that we're in.
You can't be fearful.
If you can't be fearful, just because some people have said that we're fearful, let me tell you something. You can talk to anybody that's worked in the front office of NBC and MSNBC over the past 22 years. I'll tell you, I'm not fearful. You can talk to anybody who served with me in Congress. They will tell you, not.
I thought he was going to say combat.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
I gotta tell you, this man strikes me as a man with very soft hands that wants you to think that his hands are very rough.
Fearful of leadership. The main complaint was that we called Donald Trump's rhetoric fascist during the campaign. And then we went down to have an off-the-record comment with him. Guess who else?
You had mimosas with Donald.
That.
Let me see. From the New York Times,
The New York
Washington
Times,
Post, the
Washington-
Wall Street. You know what? I even think folks from the Atlantic.
I think actually,
I think they might
probably
be doing that.
If they
Is it just me, or are they giving Jink and Anna? This is, wow. This is the neo-lib version of Jink and Anna.
have a chance to talk on the background with the incoming president and president-elect,
Yeah.
they would do it. In fact, as somebody wrote during this outrageously stupid, immature series of articles that lied time and time again about us, reporter said, well, I'd be fired if I had the opportunity to go in and talk to somebody who's incoming president of the United States.
You should be fired, Joe. Your ratings are down the tube. Nobody trusts you anymore. And you're yelling at your audience. But guess what? They already left. And now you're yelling at the ones that are still there. Now you're yelling at the people who did put up with your hypocritical bullshit. Yeah, no, these two are going down the tube, and it's. I gotta say, I'm a Morning Joe hater. I've hated Morning Joe for a really, really, really long time. This is satisfying. This downfall is so good. Now, look, I feel like I wish that corporations, in this case, the corporation would behave in its own financial interest and just stop the bleeding by eliminating these contracts, right? I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think these two are going to have a very, very soft landing. I think that they are integrated with the social world of the people who would make the final decision about their, hiring or summary firing, which is what the network would do if it was truly concerned with its bottom line. But no, they're gonna spend more money to fucking let them down easy, help their feelings.
They didn't do it. Ask any journalist at the New York Times, the New York Post.
Joe.
Insufferable. What an insufferable weasel.
Joe. You are not a journalist. You are a group of
First of all,
people
true.
who loves to just suck up to power. Like, these were the people who were the Biden whisperers.
Mm-hmm.
And we see where that got, the side of the aisle they were supposed to be assisting with. They were people who were...
Okay, anyway, so that's the story about Morning Joe, just for reference. Let's get back to the Donald Trump interview.
Stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm seeing from a lot of journalists. Now, look, Morning Joe is going to be more strident than like the host of Meet the Press, right? There's certain kinds of journalists that are expected to stay neutral, appear neutral, no matter what. Joe Scarborough is not. But I mean, that makes it more pronounced, the turn that you're going to see. But I also see a turn in journalists like this. I also see a deference that is being showed to this man that I think comes from nothing other than the sound of fear, the smell of fear, right? They're shitting their pants. They're shitting their pants because there's no guardrail, and the president does have the ability to affect things like the media. The president, if they push it and if all the guardrails are gone, the president can affect a whole lot of things in a very, very negative way, right? So instead of standing up to the most corrupt administration in the history of the country, you're seeing the supposedly liberal media cower in supplication and kiss the ring of a person that's done nothing but con people since the day that he rolled out of his father's mansion.
Families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow, but I can
Ooh, slippery.
say that
That you are going to be paying more. You are going to be paying more. That's what he said. I'm sorry. Let me translate. And in case any of you have trouble understanding this man, which I can totally understand, he is hard to understand, and he does the weave. He is saying here that ordinary Americans are going to pay more money because of his tariffs, because of his trade war, after having voted for this man in no small part because the prices of goods that you need to survive are too high, because the prices, the rent for apartments is too high, because housing in this country is unattainable. These were major factors in Trump's election, and he is just about to, he's saying, and no one, well, like, I mean, watch.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't
Oh,
guarantee anything.
I can't guarantee that. No, I can't guarantee that ordinary Americans won't pay more. Says the guy that just got elected
But now there are
because Americans were tired of paying too much. They're going to pay more now. He literally does not give a fuck about you. You are an ant to him, and he's getting ready to step on you to enrich himself and his billionaire friends, many of whom he has empowered to run the fucking government. Also, this asshole could stay out of prison. Americans are going to suffer for his escape of justice.
Can't guarantee tomorrow, but I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, you lost a trade war. You going to do that again? Yes, of course.
In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years.
Almost like it's a lagging indicator. I don't know.
Just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think we will. I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs.
I'm sorry, but if you saw a graph of the U.S. deficit under Trump, you would see a sharp increase. And look, there should be during COVID. And it's actually not a big deal. The United States borrowing money essentially gets it back more money on the other end. If it's used in a way that is beneficial, to the United States people and to the economy, it's not a bad thing. And especially in a situation like COVID, where something like the stimulus is needed for people to get through that situation.
So the most beautiful word. I think they're.
But the other thing that you need to understand is that when the capitalist government sends you a stimulus check, that is a sign that the capitalist system does not work. And if you were left in a libertarian free market hellhole, you would drop like a rock. Because at the end of the day, capitalism is not there to take care of you. It's there to take care of the billionaires.
Beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing.
Here we go.
For almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
Now, chat, do you think that his writers wrote that for him? Do you think that was like a planned thing that he was like, oh yeah, I want to hit this point about Canada and Mexico becoming states? Or do you think that he ad-libbed that one? It could go either way as far as I'm concerned.
We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing
And they're eating the dogs.
the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs.
Okay, so here's the deal. Countries don't pay tariffs. And I'll say one more thing. Companies don't pay tariffs at the end of the day. The person paying the tariff is the person buying the item. In other words, people pay tariffs. And it's not people overseas. They're going to pay tariffs that Trump implements. It's you and me in the form of an average of $4,000 more a year than we would have paid in taxes. No, this deal keeps getting worse. This deal keeps getting worse.
Properly used. I don't say you use
It's almost like we elected a con man to the highest office in the country.
like a madman.
And he's bringing in all his corrupt friends to fucking loot and pillage the country. It's almost like that.
I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we
never got, because there were people that were like, that's a bad idea, Mr. President. You will literally wreck the economy. You're already hurting the economy.
Fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No. You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio.
One of the greats, yeah. And unless you're a student in his in the school that he coached for, and he turns his back on you while you get abused.
And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing.
So what he's saying, chat, is that he's more concerned with companies than he is with you.
Machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs on?
I mean, they're already raising. There's reports of people already, companies already raising prices in anticipation of these tariffs. And yeah, whenever there's tariffs or inflation, right? There's a phenomenon known as price gouging occurs, right? There is a recognition that the price of a good or service is going up, and so a extra little rise of the price is not noticed as much, and that's called price gouging. That's them taking advantage of a situation like tariffs, like inflation, like anything that raises the prices on goods, which is what he's talking about doing. the guy that got elected because eggs cost too much, the guy that got elected because rent was too high, is talking about raising the prices
to their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us,
But now there are freaking
it became a
communist
very,
invading
very
radicals.
powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going...
That's not how it works. That's not how it works, right? Tariffs are going to do one of two things. Either they make a good or they make a good unsellable in this country, right? They make it so that it's just not profitable. It's not possible to sell South Korean washing machines, right? Or they are low enough that it's going to just like add cost, right? And if it's low enough that it's just gonna, add some cost to the good to make it competitive, then you're not making much money. And if you're this shouldn't have to be explained. If you've absolutely shut off trade, you're not making money, right? So it's just not a moneymaker like he describes it.
Going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them.
Or do they have less to lose if you're doing tariffs on them? I don't know. Think this out, Trump, before the words come out of your mouth.
Want to play games, and we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to...
the thing about the Trump administration is it starts off with closing the borders to keep others out. And my prediction is it ends with closing the borders to keep you in. When this country turns into a hellhole and you want to get the fuck out, you might not be able to. Because like I said, the guardrails have been removed. And there is no one there is no one keeping us safe at this point. You got a criminal con man as your president now. And he's locking the doors on you. And at the same time, we've got these journalists, right? These resistance assholes that now are like, the best resistance I could offer is just to be really friendly with Trump and say, you're going to do good things, aren't you, Trump? Yes, he says he's going to do good things. You were just kidding about the fascism, right? That was a joke. That was a joke. That was a meme. That was a silly little thing. You didn't mean that. No. We're not going to do anything like that. Authoritarianism, going after your enemies. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Attacking minorities. We're not going to do that. Deporting U.S. citizens? We're not going to do that. No, certainly. That's just like, that was just rhetoric. That was just stuff that you're saying. Ha ha ha. You're not really going to do it, are you? And he just looks at you with those dead fucking eyes. And you know you are fucked. And you know that your resistance didn't amount to shit at the end of the day. Because it's not you that's going to be hurt the worst by this. Yeah, I mean, this is the fucked up thing about these neoliberal journalist shitheads. They don't have as much to lose. And even as that is true, they fear losing access. They fear losing relevance. And they are kissing this guy's ass. It is so fucking disgusting to see this. And I think that's... I don't know, Chad. Is that as much Trump content as I can take? All right, so what has this guy got for us on Joe Scarborough?
And generally just raging about criticism of his capitulation, his anticipatory obedience to Donald Trump even before he's taken office. I'm going to share it with you. There's a whole bunch here. It was like a 9.5, 10, 12-minute thing. He may have gone on for as long as maybe 20 minutes about this particular grouping of events, really an airing of grievance from him, while Mika nodded along and acted irritated that she even had to address this to the audience.
But now there are freaking communists.
Here's about 1 minute and 45 seconds of it, roughly. You'll see the timer. If you've already seen it, you can skip ahead. And then we're going to talk about it, some of the claims, and just his general bad attitude.
Is this what we just watched? I think it is.
And so I understand if you don't know how the media works day in and day out, and you're just like watching this show day in and day out, I understand that you'd be like, wow, okay, man, that's sudden. But for media reporters to lie, to pretend that this is a shock, to try to get clips, for Washington Post reporters and
to try to get clips? Who do you think you are, Hassan?
Say, how dare they go see him after they said he was a fascist? And that's exactly what the Washington Post is doing. That's exactly what the Wall Street Journal is doing.
Their job.
That's exactly what the New York Times... Yeah, you know what you call it? You call it their job. And let me say this. Two things. You can do two things at the same time. You can say he had fascist rhetoric and still go in and talk to him.
And still be friendly with him. Yes. You got to get the read of the fascists.
To get the read of...
Yeah. We don't just want to know that he's going to do fascism. We want to know what style of fascism he's going to do. We're going to be there to get you that story.
And EU funding and NATO funding. Do you know why I went to leaders in the Middle East who were angry at the United States, and I sat there and I listened to them attacking me personally for 45 minutes because of U.S. policy? You know why I do that? To get the read of the leader, to get the read of where the country's going. So I can come back here and talk to you and let you know what the hell is going on.
With context and
give you context.
He sounds like he's going to pass a kidney stone.
And background. You know everybody we have on the show that's a reporter? It's what they do every day. They speak on background.
So he's pushing back against the narrative, the reported narrative from sources within his organization, employees and co-workers of Joe Scarborough, that he was afraid. In fact, here's the headline here from CNN, from Brian Stelter. Look, you can say a lot of things about Brian Stelter. He's kind of a goof.
I always mix him up with that guy that accidentally left his webcam on when he was in a meeting and he was enjoying himself a little too much in front of the webcam. But that's Jeffrey Toobin, right? Okay. Why do I always think it's Brian? No, chat. It's not Brian Stelter that did that.
He does have integrity. This is the headline. Morning Joe meeting with Trump was driven by fears of retribution from incoming administration, sources say. And if you go through, it's multiple people they spoke to within the organization of MSNBC.
Yeah, we're not afraid of anything. They're like, we're not afraid of no hogs.
Who know what's going on there? So he was afraid. They are afraid. They are anticipatory, obedient. Let me address a couple things he said there. Look, I understand if you watch this show every single day, you dedicate.
Look, all I gotta say is W. Brian Stelter, okay? That's a phrase I never thought I'd utter, but here we go. Here we go. Huge dub.
Time being a patron of this particular program, and you're just such a stupid rube. You don't understand how the media works. I get it, says Joe Scarborough. As he then shifts after insulting his audience to talk about, you know why I went down there? Yeah, we call out his fascist rhetoric, and then we did go down there to meet him. You know why?
You know why I do that? To get the
I'm a real journalist.
read of the man.
Did you get your read on the man? Joe Scarborough? What reading of the man?
Get your read on the man is one way of describing what Joe Rogan was doing to Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. He was getting the read of the man by glazing him the fuck up.
Did you need Joe Scarborough? What did you not know about Donald Trump prior to the meeting at Mar-a-Lago that you walked away having more knowledge and understanding having read the man? Do you not know enough about Donald Trump and what his machinations
You just size him up.
are, what his motivations are, what his plan and plot is, what he's scheming for the American public? You didn't know until you met with him, until you looked across the table eye to eye with Donald Trump. You didn't know what he was about? Were you asleep during the...
Look, there's a book, Project 2025. You can read it if you want to know what his fucking plans are. It's right there. You don't have to go to Mar-a-Lago for that. No, you were going to Mar-a-Lago to kiss his fucking ass.
administration? Were you asleep during the 2020 campaign? Were you asleep since 2015 until now? Also, let me say this. As someone who is also, like you, not a reporter, you're not that. You're not a reporter. You're not on par with even a Washington Post or a Wall Street Journal.
Jesse Dollemore, I gotta say, I like your energy.
Journalist. You're not that. You're a former Republican congressman turned commentator. You do what I do, except you do it for corporate media.
I think this guy does it better.
You know that. You didn't break any stories. In fact, you didn't come back with the thing you said, I did this so I could come back and report to you. Well, what did you report, Joe? What did you explain to us, the rubes who watch your show? What new information have you ascertained about Donald Trump? Until you tell us, shut up.
Okay, so chat, if you are at all progressive, if you look at shit like Morning Joe and a lot of what you see on MSNBC and you say, like, this does not represent me, right? This is supposedly like the left network, and these fuckers are establishment ass kissers. That it is time that we become the media. It is time that we replace the legacy media. Because these people are going to surrender to Trump. And unfortunately, these fuckers have like a lot more influence and clout, even without as many views as what you're, seeing on an online outlet in terms of their perceived respectability. It's a lot higher. They're able to get indoors a lot easier. That's got to change. That's got to change. These are dinosaurs. MSNBC are dinosaurs, and they are dying the fuck off. And if something does not arise to replace them, you're going to have a very right-wing media ecosystem. Even with MSNBC, the way that they're going, you're going to have a substantially right-shifted media landscape. This is the time. This is the time to rise up, okay?
Quit making excuses for your capitulation, your compliance in advance. You're obeying Donald Trump before he even has a chance to implement the fascism. Your incensed attitude is just for show, brother. You talked a big game when Donald Trump was not in power. You talked a big game when you thought Kamala Harris was going to win the election. But you need to do like some of us are doing and continue the talk. Continue.
Hell yeah, Mozart, man reader.
To rail against the evils that will be brought upon the United
Look, again, I don't know this much about Jesse Dollimore. I feel like I've seen him do something with Midas Touch. So, most likely he's a fairly, centrist lib. But the Morning Joe, I got a special vendetta against Morning. It's not really a vendetta, chat. I didn't have a Morning Joe didn't do anything to me. I'm massively annoyed by Morning Joe is all.
United States of America when Donald Trump is ultimately in office again. You don't rush to kiss the ring. You don't rush to beg, please lighten the load of retribution, dear leader. You don't obey in advance. And now that you're hemorrhaging viewers, I would assume, you're attacking the people that you claim to be serving so well as a journalist. It's just gross. Tell me if I'm off base, everybody.
Anyway, no, you're not off base, Jesse. I haven't seen a lot of your stuff, but this is pretty based. This is a W, Jesse. So I feel like we're good with this story. Now, should we go back and risk some more of this Trump tent?
Justin Trudeau. If it doesn't,
we saw the main. See, the thing is, the second you turn your back on Trump and you're like, no, I'm sure he's not going to say anything weird. He's on you with Hannibal Lecter or something like that. He's blowing a microphone. He's shitting his pants, right? He's gonna. There's gonna be something in here that, he shit himself in the midst of the interview, and the interviewer was just too nice to call it out, and nobody's mentioned it because they're afraid to say the president has got a diarrhea dump in his pants and it is stinking up the press room. It is stinking up Trump Tower. They are afraid to say that the emperor has no clothes except for a diaper, which he just shit. I don't trust the liberal media anymore. What can I say? I feel like they're rolling over and showing their belly to this guy. And they're not going to report when he's.
It was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
When he's taking a poo-poo in his suit there.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now.
Wow, it sounds like people really like it when I talk about poop. So anyway, that's what you came here for. That's the kind of content. When I said Trump tent, right? That's obviously what we meant. Should we sample other sections, like a little?
he probably wouldn't, but if I told him to, he would.
See if we run into anything.
To do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty.
So, he's not going to provide a pathway to citizenship because that was something that the Democrats had offered to the Republicans for years and years and years as a border deal. And that is a deal that they never took.
They have to tell you.
It was only when Biden caved to the Republicans on the border and essentially asked for nothing in return, just signed on to a Republican plan, that then the Republicans backtracked and decided they didn't want to pass that bill. They didn't want to give Biden a W.
A little bit about our country. They have to love.
So, whatever kind of deal they wanted, whether it's a pathway to citizenship, which he's kind of alluding to here, even though we know that he doesn't support that, he's not gonna do that, or whether it is, a full scale authoritarian clampdown, like the bill that was proposed by Republicans, supported by Trump, and then when Biden supported it, they withdrew their support from, or something worse, because they could do anything that they want. They control all three branches of government. They have corrupted the Supreme Court to the point where it is going to allow Trump to do whatever the fuck that he wants. There's no telling how bad it could get, is what I'm saying.
Country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000
Okay.
with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the Dreamers. The Dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country. Many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases,
Okay, so if he's going to do anything to revive DACA, that is a surprise. That is not something that he's even talked about. I don't know why he's bringing that up here, but I don't buy it.
Your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
we need deterrence. Look,
Zero tolerance.
What is this?
a lot of it's migrant crime.
Well, let me ask you about another aspect.
Again, this has been debunked, right? Migrants, people without paperwork, commit crimes at a lower level than citizens, right? If you're going to choose, who you deport based on the crime rate, you would be deporting citizens first.
Of this that I think a lot of people are really curious about. I mean, 3% of the people who are here illegally.
Okay, what all do we have here? I started using the word. What word? The N word?
Using the word, the groceries, when you buy
The G word. The G word. All right, you got to see this. Oh, the most corrupt president in the history of the United States. So, wait, that was after you, though.
President in the history of the United States, Joe Biden, and the entire
Well, that
Biden
part is
crime
true.
family. Are you going to do that? Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be that would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being...
We have Hannibal Lecter, and he came from a different country.
...into our country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. They like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on grocery.
Okay, so he recognizes this, that, the prices that he's about to raise are the prices that people voted for him because they thought that somehow he would bring them down. Turns out he never had any intention to do that. He is a con man. He gets one over on you, and he does what the fuck he wants. He doesn't do what you want. What are you, silly? You just got conned.
It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word?
Who uses the word? Oh my God, everybody. When you buy your groceries, if you buy groceries, if you do not have a personal assistant who is calling in an order of groceries for you and the groceries somehow magically show up in your refrigerator because your servants let them in, then you talk about groceries. I would say that 99.9% of people who uses the word groceries, like almost everyone. How out of touch is this guy? I started using the word groceries. Imagine that. Nobody says groceries anymore. Ha 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 ha. Groceries? What's a grocery? I have no idea.
I started using the word.
I have delivery. I do not have groceries.
When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that.
I didn't realize that. God, he got me in the weave, right, Chad? You know, he does the weave. He talks about different things. He sometimes answers a question about one thing with a story about a completely different thing. And that's what happened, right? He just went into groceries from the question about, are you going to lock your enemies up?
Unless I find something that I think is
Because it
reasonable.
was so peaceful
But
up here.
that's not going to
But
be
now
my
there are
decision.
freaking
That's going to be Pam
communist
Bondi's
invading
decision,
radicals.
and to a different extent, Kash Patel. Assuming they're both there, and I think they're both going to get approved.
But
While you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that.
No,
sir.
wait. You can't do one without the other.
Communist invading radicals.
In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you what they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything else. And in the
Oh, no.
because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
Pam Bondi talks about investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith investigated?
Well, I think he's very corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she
Are
has to
you
do.
going to direct her
No,
to
I'm not.
prosecute
I'm not.
Jack
She's
Smith?
a very smart person. She was a great attorney general in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it, no.
Sir, are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago.
Just because I wouldn't give, like, top secret documents that I wasn't supposed to have back. After multiple requests, he invaded my home. This Christopher Wray guy, he's gotta go. He's gotta go. What a creepy guy. He invades your home for, yeah.
I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And
Oh my God, fuck this guy so much. Fuck this guy so much, right? Because he did some shit that no one else would ever get away with. And the only reason that he's getting away with it is because he corrupted the Supreme Court and because he is president, right? He's found the one literal get out of jail free card, and he's using it, and he's acting like he's the fucking victim. All I did was retain documents from the White House that I wasn't supposed to have. And then after I was told that you've got these documents and you need to give them back, I didn't give them back. And how dare he invade my house? He invaded the sacred sanctum of Mar-a-Lago,
crime is
the place where Ghislaine Maxwell recruited underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, how dare you befoul?
at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions.
Including but not limited to the late great Hannibal Lecter. Yes, we know. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. What else, sir? What else?
You've referenced a couple of times in this interview. I asked you last time we sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter.
Don't you kind of want to pardon yourself? Don't you think it would be cool? None of us reporters would have any problem with you at all, Mr. President, if you pardoned yourself.
Are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
She's like pushing, she's leading the witness. Objection, Your Honor. What the fuck? She's like selling it. I wasn't going to, but now you're really making me think I should. I don't know. You see, your excitement is infectious. Yeah, pardon myself. Hell yeah.
I was given the option.
You did a lot of things wrong, but I mean, I guess if your standard is you didn't get anything, do anything you're gonna get punished for. Yeah, you're right.
And the lawyer,
But yeah, this man has a very strange notion of truth that includes lies. It has a packed full of lies. His truth is like chocked full of lies. Like just like the double chunk chocolate chip cookie at Costco. That's right.
told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high up in the administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty, and you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of legal fees, but it turned out that I was right. Look at what's gone on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fani Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped. It's all been discredited.
Yeah, that's right. It's dropped because it was discredited. The judges and juries and everyone decided that, like, yeah, he didn't really do anything wrong. And all those cases were concluded with a not guilty verdict. Not that they are unable to continue a prosecution of the president of the motherfucking United States. That is a great freeze frame, by the way. That's how I want to remember him when he's gone. Old lemon sucker.
There are those people that say, and this would be the first time in history, that all of those fake indictments, they were going after a political opponent. There are those that say that I actually did better in the election because of it. Now, that would be a first. I think you would agree, because normally that's like you go back to the microphones, you say, I'm leaving right now.
Remember when I said I could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and not nobody would blink an eye? Yeah, it's true.
I will leave office. I'm going back to my family, and I will fight for my name. Well, I had to fight for my name in public because I didn't leave office. But no, I didn't want to pardon, and I didn't want to pardon myself. I had the option to pardon myself.
And you don't want one now. You're not going to pardon yourself now.
Are you sure? Mr. President, are you sure? If you pardoned yourself, it would be such a party. We would be drinking at Mar-a-Lago until the early hours of the morning, Mr. President. Are you sure you don't want to pardon yourself?
What do I need one for? First of all, I've won almost all of the cases.
What if President
That I
Biden?
didn't win are on resuscitation.
What if President Biden offered you a pardon? Would you accept it?
Oh, that would be the ultimate fucking move. No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. That's the fucking ultimate move right there. If Biden offered him a pardon and he said no, because he's right. He doesn't need one. Like, the cases are going to be dropped. He's not going to be, most likely not going to be impeached while he is in office. And it'll be, too late on a lot of those to resuscitate the case after he leaves office. Yeah, I don't think he needs a pardon. It's just kind of wacky that she's obsessing about something that doesn't matter anymore. And I think even he gets that.
I've never even thought about it. I don't think he'll do it. Look,
you should have said, no, I won't accept it. I won't accept the pardon from Biden. I'll say your pardon is no good. You're a terrible president, Sleepy Joe.
if he did, he's the one that started this whole thing. He got the Justice Department to go after me. And the state cases are all being run by the Justice Department, which is illegal. They had their people from the Justice Department work for Alvin Bragg in order to get something going. They worked for Letitia James in the state. He had his people go from the federal government and take lesser jobs in the state.
Okay, that one needs a fact check.
In order to get
And you know he denies he had anything to do with it.
No,
and
you
there's
can't
no-
deny it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they were there. Wait a minute. Wait. You know, you have a tendency to sort of like slough over things. You just made a statement. His person, the top, maybe the third or second or third person, left the federal government, the DOJ, and went to work for Letitia James. And then, after they got that one started, went to work for the DA.
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney.
There's only so many ways you can ask him if he's going to go after his enemies, right? If he's going to tell you no, then he's going to tell you no.
She's a so-called
And he might take that back later because he is a fucking...
Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats
He is a bucket of lies.
terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was
I mean, he's probably right on that one.
a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps.
He calls it the Unselect Committee because he likes to give things nicknames, and it's called the Select Committee. But he doesn't like it, so it's the Unselect Committee. That is a knee slapper.
So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck.
You're kind of posting your L's, sir.
Was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee.
We're going to...
For what they did,
Yeah.
honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should go to
everybody
jail?
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and
No,
your attorney general to send them to
No,
jail?
not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that,
on
it carries
strengthening the
weight,
border.
though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, Unselect Committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it. Wait. And they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do
that.
that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that, and officials say that the order never came in for
They
the
put
National
out
Guard.
a statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about
It's
January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be if you know.
He's not doing an interview. He's like trying to just take it over and like do his little press conference of his personal grievances. Yeah, this is a narcissist unleashed. I'm not trying to make any diagnostic statements or anything like that. I am just describing a very blatant and inarguable aspect of his personality. This guy's a narcissist.
You have such potential.
And he is definitely feeling himself at this moment.
If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm
If
just
I
saying
did
they
it,
deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen,
I'm just saying it's debunked and you're full of shit and you're lying in my face, but I don't have the guts enough to actually say that because this is the demeanor of the press when speaking to power.
if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because
They are eating the cats, they are eating the dogs. Trump's reality, Trump's delusions supersede reality, and we all have to accept the reality of the naked emperor here shitting his non-existent pants before all of us, and we all have to say, no, that's great. He's definitely not shitting himself.
it was so bad. The only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Let me ask you about January 6th.
Okay, look, if he's going to keep using the big lie, the media needs to get better at defeating it, at standing up to it, right? Because you see what her instincts are, right? This is not something that she's sitting here and disputing. She's not accusing the president of being dishonest, right? She's not doing anything like that. She's just kind of deflecting it and saying, well, other people had other opinions. But anyway, let's not dwell on that, right? We clearly disagree. While he is like pressing the fucking point. Like, could you just be unbiased for a second and say that my obvious lie is the actual truth because I've said it over and over again and I say it so convincingly and I seem to believe it and all of my henchmen say it too, and so obviously we can just take the truth and just make a little scalpel cut here, here, and here, excise the truth, put in the disgusting rancid meat slab of a lie that I have concocted even though it doesn't fucking fit in the space. Can we just do that? Forget about the truth. What is truth anyway? It's my truth. And my truth is that I was wronged. And I am the most persecuted person since Jesus Christ. And all these people that are saying that I'm doing bad things, they are actually the ones that are doing bad things. It's all of them that have got something to hide and not me. Who they are pointing to. It is not the shit-soaked diaper that I am wearing. They are the ones who pooped my pants. That's what he's saying. It's just like the fucking hot dog skit from I Think You Should Leave. Of like, yeah, we better find the guy who did this. And it's like, it's fucking you.
A different capacity, okay? I think you're going to want to answer this question. You promised to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Are you still vowing to follow through with that promise?
We're looking at it right now, most likely, yeah.
Well,
Those people
especially Q Shaman. That's the important pardon.
have suffered long and hard, and they may be.
I wonder if he's gonna pardon Nick Fuentes.
But now there are freaking communists.
I think Fuentes was there. Maybe he'll pardon Slippery Nick too.
Some exceptions to it. I have to look. But, if somebody was radical, crazy, there might be some people from Antifa there. I don't know, because those people seem to be in good shape. Whatever happened to Scaffold Man? You know who Scaffold Man was? He stood on a scaffold telling everybody to go and...
Is he going to talk about Ray Epps? I feel like he's going to bring up Ray Epps. She's like, I don't fucking care about Scaffold Man. I've got a list of questions that I'm supposed to ask you. And you're doing the weave is getting in the way of me asking all my questions.
Whatever happened to Ray Epps? No, I don't know anything about...
Yo! Chat! Am I psychic? Should I buy a lottery ticket? I knew he was gonna... I was like, Ray Epps. We're gonna do Ray Epps. We're gonna do Ray Epps. He did Ray Epps. He did Ray Epps. He's gone full conspiracy mode.
Ray Epps, but it was sort of strange the way he was talking. Where is he? What happened to him? Because the people that did very little, they arrested an old woman because I don't think she did anything. They don't even know what she did. These people have suffered. Their lives have been destroyed. And yet in Portland, where they...
Oh, that's why he's talking about Antifa. Okay.
Half the city, they burn it down all the time. It's like a routine occurrence. They don't do anything.
Yeah, that's not what people from Portland say. But go on, King.
Attacked the courthouse, federal courthouse. They always say federal building. Okay, they destroyed the beautiful limestone exterior of the courthouse in Portland. They killed people in Portland. Seattle, people got killed in Seattle.
Yeah, the person that he's talking about that killed somebody. I mean, that's a situation where it very much looks like it might be self-defense. However, we will never know what the actual situation was in Portland because that person was extrajudicially murdered by Donald Trump's law enforcement.
They took over a big chunk of the city. They took it over. They took the city away.
The cops gave the city away after they had sprayed all of their nerve agent, all of their all of their chemical weapons, right? They used it all. They couldn't hold the protests anymore after they had antagonized the fuck out of people, and then they left the fucking precinct like a bunch of cowards. That's what happened in Seattle.
It looked like when they said this is a friendly protest, and yet over the poor slob from CNN, his shoulder, the entire city was burning down. It looked like World War II. Nothing happened. But wait, nothing happened. They took over the police statement.
Okay, this is a terrible interview. You cannot do this. Like, you're just giving him a fucking platform to just go off on all kinds of non-sequitorial bullshit.
They took over the police station in Minneapolis. They burned it down. Nothing happened to anybody.
I just want to...
And yet these people have been in jail, and I hear the jail is a hellhole.
Oh my God, Donald, every jail is a hellhole. That's why it's called jail. Do you want to do prison reform? No? Okay, cool. Well, yeah, it's a fucking hellhole.
They've done reports, and you would say that's true. They've done reports. This is the most disgusting, filthy place. These people,
some of them are getting SA'd, and that is, like, I can't believe that would happen in a U.S. prison. I've never heard of anything like that happen. They really do treat prisoners badly, and I didn't know that.
Living in hell.
Let me just...
And I think it's very unfair.
But
most likely I'll do it very quickly.
Oh my God, you can't get in, can you? He's like, no, I'm just going to talk right over you is what I'm going to do, and you're going to shut up.
Very quickly. Okay, but some of them, 169 of them, have pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers.
Because they had no choice.
900 pleaded guilty to other crimes. They're also going to be eligible for a pardon from you?
Listen, it's a very tough system. Do you know almost nobody... I saw people that didn't even go into the building and they were convicted. And you had the police saying, come on in, come on in.
Yeah, there were people who planned it.
I mean, you know.
Oh no, he's full on conspiracy theory on this.
The police are saying, come on in, everybody, come on in. They had people, you know, you have a lot of cameras. They don't want to release the tapes. They don't want to release the tapes.
So, but you're going to consider pardoning even those who've pleaded guilty to crimes, including assaulting police officers?
Well, sometimes they say, here's your...
He's not responding. He's just saying whatever the fuck he wants to say.
You're not ruling it out.
And you just gave him a platform to do that.
Look, I know the system.
God, the press sucks so bad.
The system's a very corrupt system. They say to a guy, you're going to go to jail for 2 years or for 30 years. And these guys...
How much of this grievance is really about his own anxiety over going to jail for the crimes that he committed?
Guys are looking, their whole lives have been destroyed. For 2 years, they've been destroyed. But the system is a very nasty system.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to look at every...
Okay, so prison reform, right? Police reform, right? Nope. Nope. It's not what he's talking about. He's talking about letting Q Shaman, like expunging Q Shaman's record. He's talking about letting the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys out of jail so they can potentially hurt more people and kill more people. You want to talk about like deaths that have occurred? Let's talk about how many deaths were caused by fascist thugs, like the ones who went to jail for January 6th.
We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there. How long is it? 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been...
She's nervous. Look at this. She hit her mic like that. She was so nervous.
For years. And they're in a filthy...
Look, if you you can't interview the president like this. Like, you can't be afraid of the guy that you're interviewing, even though you by all rights should be.
Disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Let's talk about your cabinet picks. I know we started off talking about Pete Hegseth, but I just want to return to that very quickly. Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No, I think you will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people.
Finally, a good question.
that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem. And
Oh, so we're gonna do the big lie again. Cool.
you know, he had a lot of knives out for him. A lot of people don't want to see the military made
A
better.
lot of people in Fox News.
Let me ask you about former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You picked her to be the director of national intelligence.
Right.
In 2017, she had 2 secret meetings with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Do you have questions or concerns about those meetings?
No, and he's got bigger problems right now.
Well, do you think it
Because
makes
his
it hard
country's-
for her?
His country is
Yeah.
collapsing.
I mean, do you think it compromises her
look,
ability to
I met
handle
with
that?
Putin.
Like what? Oh my God! He thought that was a question of Tulsi Gabbard versus Bashar al-Assad, and he's like, "Well, he's not going to be in power much longer." Ha 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 ha! Oh my God!
Xi of China. I met with Kim Jong-un twice. Does that
When
mean
you
that
were
I can't be president?
well, when you were president, they
No,
weren't
I know,
secret
but look,
meetings.
people meet. All these people meet. I mean, I see
Yeah, don't ask him about the secret meetings.
most dishonest people. I'll tell you, the 51 agents that said that the laptop wasn't from
The laptop from hell. It was the Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. That's a throwback. There we go.
Russia. What about them? Tell me about them. Do you think they did something wrong? Do you think they were all so stupid that they thought that the laptop from hell?
So you have
The laptop from hell.
confidence in Tulsi Gabbard.
I do. So does I mean, she's a very respected person.
Let me ask you about RFK Jr.
Oh yes, please. Let's ask about RFK Jr.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking
I want to know if RFK Jr. is going to have a pass into the White House kitchen to bring in some exotic meats.
But now there are freaking communists invading.
RFK, famous procurer of exotic meats, right? He is not like he doesn't eat chicken, pork, beef, anything like that. His tastes are much more exotic. And that's what's going to be served at the White House every night. A new endangered species will be served up.
Jr. He has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
If they're dangerous for the children. Look,
So possibly?
when you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent.
Oh my God, straight up. Oh, he is soft selling the idea that, oh my God, this guy thinks that vaccines cause autism.
It was, sickness.
He's sold. He's not just like, using RFK Jr. for the clout. He absorbed the Maha message. He's a true believer.
If they're dangerous for the children. Look,
So possibly?
when you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent.
There we go.
1 out of 100,000.
Full on anti-vax conspiracy theorist.
And now it's close to 1 out of
And I'm not talking about RFK. I'm talking about this guy.
100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At
I went to a site called
Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug companies, the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people.
We got Dr. Oz too. Oh, wonderful.
All get together.
All the quacks, get them all in one room, and let's figure out the big meta conspiracy theory.
And let's figure out where we're going.
Let's all become breatharians. We will not eat food anymore. We will not drink water. We will only breathe the air and absorb the prana from the sun.
Because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And
I don't even know who they are.
you look at
I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm Donald Trump. I'm experiencing cognitive decline. Nobody ever questioned my cognitive decline because it's so much more zesty than Joe Biden's.
drug prices, they're much higher than the prices for the same medicine, for the same stuff. So we met, and we met for a long time, and we talked about pricing, and we talked about vaccines, in terms of what happens. We talked about pesticides. We talked about everything. And I think a lot of good things are going to come from him. And he's not going to upset any system. He's not going to upset this. He's not looking to, to reinvent the wheel totally. But when you look at the numbers,
He just wants to get rid of the polio vaccine. He just wants to spread measles like he did in American Samoa, where 83 people died because of his fucking anti-vax bullshit.
we really don't have a very healthy country.
Sir, going back 25 years, studies show that there is no link between vaccines and
Oh, here we go. Do we have is there an interviewer in the room? I forgot. I'm sorry. I thought we were just in the room with Donald Trump and he was just going off like the
and yet it sounds like you
the mad emperor he is.
are open to the possibility of him looking
I'm
at
open to
getting
anything.
rid of them.
I think somebody has to find out.
Open to anything. Okay, we're gonna.
Peaceful up here, but now there are
He's endorsing vaccines cause autism, and he's open to getting rid of them. There we go. Here's your reporting.
If you go back 25 years ago, you had very little
But now there are
autism. Now you
freaking
have it.
communist invading
Well, they say
radicals.
because they're better at identifying it.
One in
I don't like that answer. I don't. That's too normal. That's too no. I like my answer better. I'm sorry.
100,000, and now it's 1 in 100. That's a pretty bad number.
Childhood vaccines
I mean,
have
something
present-
is going on. I don't know if it's vaccines. Maybe it's chlorine in the water, right? You know, people are looking at a lot.
Do you mean fluoride? Does he mean fluoride in the water?
of different things.
You know, childhood
I
vaccines.
want them to look at everything.
everything.
I mean, RFK's talked about fluoride, so that's why I'm asking.
So childhood vaccines have prevented about 4 million deaths around the world
And I don't trust that Donald Trump knows his halogens.
every year.
I think that's
so
great.
isn't that-
I'm all for it. I think it's great. Hey, look, I'm not against vaccines. The polio vaccine is the greatest thing. If somebody told me get rid of the polio vaccine, they're going to have to work real hard to convince me. I think certain vaccines are incredible, but maybe some aren't. And if they aren't, we have to find out. But when you talk about autism, because it was brought up, and you look at the amount we have today versus 20 or 25 years ago, it's pretty
You said the same thing 3 times, sir.
scary.
Well, again,
No, I'm glad we didn't get the candidate with cognitive decline. I'm glad we got this guy instead, who's clearly very on top of things.
identifying it, and there's no link in
But
studies.
the drug
sir.
companies are going to be working with RFK Jr. and he's been an interesting guy to me. I've watched him for 25 years, and he's been an interesting guy.
Let's talk about Elon
Interesting taste in food, yes.
Musk, another interesting.
Oh my God.
Very interesting.
Last month, one of your allies said, quote, he's behaving as if he's a co-president. Will you favor Elon Musk over other leaders of competitor companies like Jeff Bezos, Mary Barra?
No, Jeff Bezos called me. We're having dinner. As you know, Mark Zuckerberg came in. We had a really nice dinner. He asked to have dinner. I had dinner with him. I'm having dinner with everybody. People like me now. You know, it's something going on that people. I said, would you have come to dinner with me if I lost? I think the answer is no. You know, I said nicely, kiddingly, of course, because I don't want to sound foolish. But I say jokingly, would you have been here at dinner if I lost? And the answer was probably not. Look, I'm getting called by everybody. It's very interesting. It's different than the first. You know, when I won the first time, I wasn't nearly as popular as this. And one thing that's very important in terms of the election, I love that I won the popular vote, and by a lot. If I didn't,
1.6%.
because they
1.6%. I'm sorry, Mr. President. We're going to have to debunk your lies. You won by 1.6%. You braggadocious fiend. You won by 1.6%. And my crowd from the first election, that was the biggest crowd ever. It was bigger. January 6th was bigger than Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Like, he's so full of lies.
they
I don't even think it's in fact effective for her to be like, oh, actually it's 1.6%. Like, right? I don't know.
with the other one, they say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won a lot of, I won a lot of the Electoral College. But
I think the only person that could interview him at this point would be Jesse the Body Ventura. That's who they need to get in there. They need to get someone who physically wrestled the answers out of him. Right? This is the WWF guy, right? So WWE guy.
by saying, now they say he won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College and he won all 7 swing states. That was a great election.
Very quickly, because we're going to talk about the election.
Yeah, it's amazing because I thought the elections were suspect and they were they were stealing the elections and that that an election that was 1.6% apart, that wouldn't be too hard to steal. So then why did you win the election if the elections are crooked and corrupt? It's kind of
coming up, but you've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct.
Which
or Doge, as they call it on X.
the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
Not
Medicaid
going to have anything to do.
and
We're talking
defense
about-
spending.
We're talking
You
about
won't touch
theft,
Medicare, Social Security.
abuse, fraud.
Okay.
No, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security, other than we make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
And we're
off the
not
table.
raising-
What does make it more efficient mean?
And we're not-
What does he mean by that? That's the question.
Okay, off the
I
table.
won't do it.
Okay, let's turn to foreign policy. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United
It
States
was
after
so
your
peaceful up
sworn
here,
into
But
office?
now there are freaking communists invading radicals.
You've said you can end the war in
We're in for
24
350 billion, and Europe is in for 100
Because it
billion.
was so peaceful
Why
up
isn't
here,
Europe in
but
for
now
the
there are
same as us?
freaking
The one thing that
communists
should happen
invading
is
radicals.
that Europe should come in they should equalize. And, you know, Biden, all he had to do, like I did with NATO, I said, you got to pay your bills. They weren't paying their bills. And as you know, the Secretary General said, President Trump got $600 billion, no, 640 to be exact. And I used to use the 400 billion number. He corrected me. He said, no, you actually got $641 billion put in, because I said you have to pay your bills. We were paying for NATO. And you know why I got the money? Because I asked for it. It wasn't that complicated. Europe is in for a fraction. And war with Russia is more important for Europe than it is for us. It's important for everybody, but it's more important for Europe than it is for us.
And you've said
we
you
have
can,
a little thing called an ocean in between us.
you said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn
Well, I'm
into
trying
office.
to.
Before
I'm trying to end it
You're
if I
actively
can.
trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You mean
elected?
no? Well, I don't want to say that.
I don't want to say, what the fuck? This guy's so used to lying, he can't keep his story straight. Yeah, I wasn't saying I haven't talked to him. I just.
Recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've
I
been
don't
elected?
want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because
Cagey as fuck.
I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
Yeah, no, don't worry though. There's nothing weird between Putin and Trump, all right? That's just Russia, Russia, Russia. It's just all the mainstream media is ever saying is Russia, Russia, Russia. It's the Russiagate hype. Of course, there was no collusion. There was no collusion. Nothing bad happened. Nothing bad happened because they couldn't convict a sitting president. Nothing bad happened.
You
I want to
have
stop
talked
it.
about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I
world
have talked
leaders.
about. Let me tell
Okay.
you. There are people being killed in that war at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have to go back to the Second World War, and even that, if you take a look at, and you know what it is? It's the soldiers largely. The cities have been emptied out and demolished. The country has been demolished. If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. But
you did go
had
to court,
I,
sir. You did.
well, that's your
Yeah,
opinion, but I
okay.
disagree with it. Had
I live in my own world of delusions, and you're not going to break into this narcissistic bubble that I have.
I assumed, kept control, number one, Israel wouldn't have happened. Number two, Ukraine would have never happened.
Again, he caused Israel with the Abraham Accords, with the allowing Israel to annex the Golan Heights, with moving the embassy to Jerusalem. He caused it, right? And with his attacks on Iran, he destabilized the region. The October 7th happened because of Trump. As far as the Russia thing, he says that he would have done something about it. Well, you know, you're not going to do anything short of engaging Russian troops in a conflict that could easily turn into World War III to stop Russia. The Biden administration, you know, gave, like he said, gave, you know, billions and billions to Ukraine, and that hasn't stopped the invasion. So what is Trump going to do that would have? Nothing. He's full of shit and bluster.
Would have never happened, Ukraine, Russia. But the
most likely outcome of Ukraine being invaded under Trump, like he's saying, is that you would have no aid being given to Ukraine, and more likely they would have surrendered, right? You would have had a situation where Russia would have just taken Ukraine. That's the difference. And this guy would have said, it's okay. It's fine. It's totally fine. They got a valid claim. They got a valid claim to that land. So let them have it.
That are being killed, soldiers, young, beautiful soldiers, hundreds of.
He is so weird. He is so young, beautiful soldiers. Okay. I was worried they were ugly. If they were ugly, I was gonna, that's okay if they die. But if they're beautiful, no, we gotta do something about this. They're soldiers. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're young and beautiful.
People are being killed, and it's very interesting. It's level, totally level. The battlefield's totally level. You know what's happening? Yeah. The only thing that stops a bullet, you know what it is a body, a human body, and the people that are being killed. Hundreds of thousands on both sides. Russia's lost probably 500,000. Ukraine's lost higher than they say, probably 400,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of bodies laying all over fields. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it should have never been allowed to happen. Biden should have been able to stop it.
Sir, will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO.
In where? What? NATO? Are we talking about fermented soybeans here? And will the United States stay in fermented soybeans, aka NATO? No, NATO. I'm sorry, I heard you wrong.
Will remain a member of NATO while you're in office.
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taken advantage of us because we were look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations. Okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food product. They don't take anything. It's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by
to NATO.
The countries
to this
protect you unless you pay. And
this stuff, the sticky bean ferment,
more than $600 billion. That's a big thing.
To NATO.
Wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're doing if they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely. I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, look, we've dwelled in the beaver swamps of Trump tent long enough. Any longer would be bad for my health and bad for your health. Now, the stream is not ending, even though our coverage of Trump will. Oh my God, mods, Jesus Christ, you had an interesting night. That is wild. So yeah, we're gonna merge the streams. That's what we're gonna do. All right. The stream continues on YouTube full screen, but the stream ends on shorts. So if you want to stay with us, if you want to stick with us, if you want to watch the rest of what I'm gonna be covering, which we're eventually gonna get to the Ethan Klein content, right? I feel like we've got a little bit of Majority Report to cover and maybe a little bit more TYT. If I can throw that in, I'll see how much time we have. See if we can throw in maybe a winners and losers video. Speaking of TYT, it's a good day. It's a good day to watch winners and losers, I feel like. But we'll try to bring that in. But yeah, we're gonna do lots more content after this, including possibly bonus content, right? The bonus content that we're looking at right now is Cavernacle versus Ethan Klein, which is at 45%. Bad Empanada ends Loner Box's career at 28%. What If Alt Hissed Magnum Opus, his Mouse Utopia, at 16%, and more TYT tent at 12%. Of course, you can also affect the poll when you donate, which we're at 17% of the dono goal. If we hit 100 by the end of the stream, we'll end up getting to see some extra content. If you're on Twitch, you can stay where you are. You don't need to go anywhere. I'm going to keep streaming on Twitch as well. But if you are on the short stream, I hate to say it, but it's been a nice time getting to know all of you that are not Trump zombies. It's really there may have been a few Trump zombies tonight. I'm gonna have to ask the mods about this. God, that was but anyway, we're gonna oh wait, yeah, I gotta do the thing, don't I? We're gonna all merge into one chat. So yeah, there's your link. Let me try to pin it for you. Can I pin that? No, I'm gonna pin this. No, not that. Oh, it's already pinned. What am I thinking? Okay, we're gonna end the stream here, and we're gonna all meet in the full scale stream. So I'll see you on the other side. In stream.